Mike, thank you so much for our previous talk on money and happiness and time. And I just know that there's people out there took your challenge and made a decision and said, yeah, I'm going to become a member. I'm going to pay the $60 membership fee, and I want to start the journey of longevity, and I'm going to start promoting this thing called Nikken, this 40-year-old philosophy-based giant of wellness technologies. And after they fill out their application and they got their back office and they're looking at all this stuff online, and they probably ordered some of their auto ship products, got on their consumables, and they're excited about now walking out the door and sharing and promoting this thing called longevity and what I like to refer to, www.nikken.com, as the worldwide wellness warehouse of Japanese health products. They want to tell the world about it. But Mike, there's some very simple things that need to happen, like some awarenesses that need to be understood. Like, I've had people tell me that I want to go run out and I want to go tell all the doctors that I know about this because all their patients need these products. And I want to run an ad in the newspaper and tell everybody about the franchise model. And all these things are swimming in their head. But before somebody gets actually, possibly exposed to some disappointments, what's some suggestions that you have about this journey that they're about ready to embark on?
Well, I want to get to that point specifically because I think it's a context idea. It's a shift in context. Recognizing that people who are saying yes to getting involved with Nikken and building a Nikken business, the lion's share, a good 75% of this population are an employee of a job of some kind at this point, of a company of some kind. 20% are maybe self-employed, a professional, an accountant, a lawyer, maybe even a medical professional, or someone who's running a small business of a kind. And a very, very small percentage, less than 5%, are actually what I refer to as, or Robert Kiyosaki refers to as the B quadrant. And I'm making reference to Kiyosaki because I think it's a worthwhile read for everyone who's embarking on the entrepreneurial journey. Cash Flow Quadrants is the book that comes to mind. He also wrote a book called the Business for People Who, the 21st Century Business, the business for people who love, who love people, or the business for the 21st century business for people who love helping people. This contextual shift is what you're referring to. But prior to that, even before we get to that, if the motivation for going through the growth curve, if the motivation for going through the learning process that invariably we all have to go through is not there, then there's a tendency for people to draw back or to basically fade away into the oblivion of this business. And because it's so easy to get involved in network marketing, it's so easy to get out. There's not a huge amount of commitment. There's not a financial commitment up front that's going to cost you your lifestyle or your house or whatever. If people were to treat this business like they were to treat a business they just invested $1 million in, there'd be no question about it. The success rate would be enormous.
So Mike, we say that you get in business for yourself, but not by yourself with this model. But yet so many people feel by themselves. Who's responsible for that feeling?
It's them. They're coming into it's the paradigm, the idea of how locked in are they to the notion that they have to succeed on their own. Everything up to this point in time has probably been based on that. Their education, their first job, how they got promotions, etc.
Paradigm, habits.
Totally. Habits, paradigms, the idea that you have to be the one that makes it all happen. Well, at the end of the day, yes, that's true. But we're talking about a shift in paradigm where your success in this business is going to be because you have become very successful at leveraging. Leveraging means leveraging the skill sets, the ideas, the concepts, the help, the support, everything, the time of other people, which is not only the people you draw into your business, but also the people who are there already to support and help you, reach down and help you.
So let me ask you this question. When it comes to responsibility, let's just say that I've made my application, I paid my membership fee, $60. I want to start promoting Nikken, and I recruit my first member. I think this is a very important question. There's responsibility to, and there's responsibility for. And so I know that whenever I signed my application that, well, I maybe didn't understand it, but I come to learn to understand it, without giving up. I hung in there for whatever reason, but I came to the conclusion after many, many months, if not years, that I was responsible for my success. But my sponsor was responsible to my success in the sense that education, motivation, all the access that I have to his mistakes or her mistakes. But now that I'm bringing in my first person, the roles of those responsibilities. So what you're telling to me is there's not like, there are books, but a Nikken specific manual. I know the company has a policies, procedures manual and training manuals, but the best place for me to turn is to my upline, to that mentor, to really get this guidance.
In your upline, there are success stories, and there are very active. Not all, but some are going to be right on the front lines of, no matter what their rank is, they could be a Royal Diamond or Royal Ambassador, who are right on the front lines of what's relevant and what's present and what's the new Nikken. And very much have the pulse and feel of what it looks and feels like, and the resources, the tools that are useful today. So yeah, you need to be reaching up. But you need to have the expectation that it's okay to do that. See, that's the shift in paradigm.
Yeah.
I don't want to call Mike because he's so busy. He's so busy. I don't want to call Mike because he's too busy.
Yeah. He doesn't know who I am.
Well, I'm busy with the people who are calling me. That's who I'm busy with. So I give you permission to call, especially if what you're looking to do is something remarkable with your Nikken.
So rule number 1, don't prejudge what's happening. Just call.
Yeah, absolutely. Call. And there is somebody who's going to take a vested interest and want to work with you. And you might
and Nikken offers all the phone numbers in their back office.
Yeah. And we have this mentoring program that I think Team Taishi, Team Kaizen is an exceptional concept because it formalizes that relationship. So you don't feel like you're overstepping your boundaries there.
So Mike, I got rule number 1 down. I've made my application. I've made my decision to call and ask for the support. Now, depending on who you call, you're probably going to get not the exact same story with every single leader around the world. But if we were to ask for the smartest rule number 2, after making that phone call and asking for the support, before I go out the door with this idea that I'm excited about promoting the world's greatest longevity supplier in the world, what's the caution? What's the step number 2?
Well, again, it goes back to what I was mentioning earlier. We need to have a motivation that's going to be big enough and deep enough, meaningful enough in our life that we're going to be able to go through the school of hard knocks, because you cannot avoid some mistakes. Some mistakes are actually necessary for you to sharpen the axe and really develop your understanding of the business and to grow into the person who is that Royal Diamond or that Royal Ambassador in heart and soul and consciousness. So if you don't have a reason to do this yet identified, we need to get that.
Are you talking purpose?
I'm talking purpose. The goals come after that. I believe that vision is the start of everything. And we'll get back to these quadrants, because that's what that B quadrant's all about. It's vision. Vision is something you can see. Purpose is if you're involved in Nikken and you want to experience the quality of life through the 5 pillars of health, that balance, that's a never-ending pursuit. That's success by that definition is a direction. It's not a destination. As long as you're moving in that direction every day toward a better health in your body, mind, family, society, finances, that's a successful day. That's our definition of success. But you can also look at that and say, okay, 3 years, 5 years from now, what would it look like if I was living that life on purpose? What would it expand into? And this is where the Humans Being More program comes in, our 2-day workshop. This is where that life cycle plan comes in, because now we start to paint a picture, a life cycle board, vision board. There's a lot of companies that refer to this concept. And the idea is to have a clear picture in your mind of what it is that you want to experience in your life in the 3 to 5 years to come. Something significant enough, worthy enough, and something that would allow you to move through the friction that it takes to get there. Then
it's funny you say this, Mike, because 21 years ago this month, whenever I paid my $60 membership fee, I made a decision that my vision, based on Masuda, the founder's vision of creating balance around the world, I believe I had heard somewhere that somebody said there was a goal of doing business in 100 countries on their 100th birthday, and we're pretty much 40 countries on our 40th birthday. I made a decision to name my company and get a business card at that date, and I filed a corporation 21 years ago this month called Worldwide Resources, Inc. Now, I didn't know what that meant, but that was my vision. Now, we can go online here and see at Nikken.com Ben Woodward's vision, but you're talking about your own vision.
Yep. And I love the idea that you have a company and you created an identity for your company, because this is the first paradigm shift. The idea that you are not your business. Your business is a business. You are the captain or the chairman or the CEO of that company. And what you're creating here is a business that has value and will create value, so that at some point in time, you'll be earning an income from that business that is independent of you and independent of your time. In fact, you could will that business, or you can even sell that business.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that business, Mike, is when you say business and corporation, it's probably Worldwide Resources in Bend, Oregon is probably one of the largest corporations in Bend that nobody's ever heard of.
That's true. Yeah, like Good Vibrations International. That's my company name. And so even if you don't incorporate at this stage, that's okay. Give it a name. Identify. Create an identity for your company, for your business, because what you are building is an asset. This is what a B quadrant person does.
Okay, so let's get to that. Rule number one, get the mentor, make the call. Rule number two, identify. Make the identity, okay? Whatever that is for you.
Identify what it is how you want to live in 3 to 5 years from now.
Identity has to be congruent or in alignment with the vision.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my vision, I took it out 21 years ago. I took it out 100 years. I don't even think I know I was doing that. But that's where the idea for Worldwide Resources came from. So what you're saying is it's not a monthly goal. It's not an annual goal. It's a vision. It's way out there. Like I quoted earlier on our previous call, there's people in Japan, because of this longevity product that this company supplies, they're over 100 years of age, 51,000 of them, and they're healthy. So can you imagine yourself at 105 years old being healthy and wealthy and happy? So this is a very big step. You haven't walked out the door yet to promote. You're still in the office or in the home.
Absolutely, because this provides the context. How I feel and what I think about and how I feel about what I'm thinking about is going to shift my vibration, my energy. And when I step out the door, 97%, or at least 93%, they say 7% is what we say, but about 93% of what somebody hears is unspoken. So it's what they feel coming from me behind the words I'm using. It's not even so important the words I'm using.
Let me give you a good example, Mike, how accurate you are about this. Have you ever been at a function and someone walks in the room and it goes dark? I mean, not dark as in black, but the energy is sucked out of the room. You know, I mean, something has happened energy-wise, like that individual has come in and just kind of drew the energy out of the room. And at the same time, just the opposite, someone can walk in the room and light up the room. Like it just changes. I mean, I can't tell you how many times whenever you operate at that level of awareness, you can identify that. So what you're saying is that this step 2 is so big to the results of going out the door and promoting.
Yes. Yeah, because people are going to feel you before they actually hear you. They're going to see how your posture, your physical posture is going to change. I mean, if you tell somebody, hey, I want you to think of the person you're most in love with, and you see the physical expression of their face change without them being told to do that. So how we conduct ourselves, how we present ourselves, what we emote is based on what we think we're doing. And a lot of people have the wrong idea when they first join this business of what it is they think success looks like, or what they're supposed to do to be successful. And so the first thing before I have anybody leave to go talk to anybody is have this reorientation, or what I call a strategy and orientation session, because I really have to get them to step back. They saw what they saw, but let's first figure out what it is they saw. They see Nikken, and what the heck does that even mean to them? They see success, and what does that mean to them? And so they're coming from a particular place in the world, maybe as an employee, maybe as a self-employed person, maybe as a business. So I don't know where they're coming from, but we need to establish the starting point so we can shift them into the right context, so that when they go out the door, they go out representing something that is highly attractive. That regardless of where they're at in the success story, it's not about that. It's who is this person being that I want to be around, that I want to hang out with, that I want to plug into, that I want to partner with. Who's this person being?
Yeah, versus doing. Mike, it sounds like somebody's listening to this call and calling their upline mentor.
I got somebody at the front door.
So here's my question to you about that in closing on step 2. Do you remember the book, because it was so big to me, by John Milton Fogg, called The Greatest Networker?
Love that book. Love that book.
I mean, how best is that to explain about sitting down with a mentor and understanding vision? Isn't that a great story?
I love that book. I remember reading that book on a beach, actually. I love that book. It might have been in Hawaii, actually.
I bet it was. So step 3.
Yeah.
I got the mentor. I got my vision. I've taken it out there beyond.
So now let's go to the next vision.
Okay.
So there's the vision of what I'm going to receive for having created this company that is thriving, a thriving success, for having done what this company needs to do to be a successful company. I'm going to receive a life and a lifestyle that's worthy and worth pursuing. Now I need a vision for the company. What is this company doing, creating, becoming, that is adding value to the world and to the lives of others, so that I can, but what's the picture? What's it look like? Because if I go at that vision from the employee idea, it's trading time for money. The employee is used to trading time for money. So their thoughts are, I need to sell these products. They're thinking how they're going to build an income is by running around saving the world by selling the products.
Can I give you a quick story from yesterday that relates to this? I was heading over to my mother and father's house to drop off something to them. And I had just spent the entire morning on the phone call helping people, mentoring people, just like you just described in step 2 about the vision and everything. And just as I was pulling up to their driveway, the neighbor was backing out. She got out of her car and she said, "Hey, I was talking to your mother and she said I need a knee wrap for my left knee. And it's a medium size and it's really bothering me. I don't know what's going on." And at the same time, she said, "I need a wrist wrap." Now, Mike, I didn't leave the house to go sell products. But guess what? This morning, I placed the order for the knee wrap and for the wrist wrap. When I got home after that, I started doing the calls about the vision, about promoting Nikken, about, mentoring and all that other stuff. So I'm not saying that selling isn't important. I do that every day. Last month, I did a couple $1,000s in sales. But there was millions generated from this other model that you're describing. And I really need you to explain that to the listener on the difference between those two, because one creates time freedom, happiness, and a lot of banknotes in the bank account. And the other one is trading time.
I'm going to use a terrible example, but this is one that really sort of gets the point across, because everybody knows this company, McDonald's. If you ask the layperson, what business is McDonald's in? They'll tell you. They're in the hamburger business. Some will tell you they're in the franchise business. And guess what? Yes, you would be correct that they do sell hamburgers. And yes, you would be correct that they do sell franchises. But you know what business the McDonald's Corporation is in? The real estate business. They're one of the biggest landowners in the world. And have you noticed that a McDonald's restaurant is always in prime real estate? So they're one of the largest holders of prime real estate globally. That's the business of McDonald's.
And if you also notice that they don't change locations.
Exactly.
The one that I grew up with as a kid, when I was 9 years old, it's been remodeled a half a dozen times, but it's still in the same place that it always was.
Their franchise model was designed to fund the purchase of the land for the company. The hamburgers, what they sell in the franchise, was designed to provide a service to the public to fund the franchise so that the franchise could produce the income necessary to generate the revenue to provide McDonald's with the ability to acquire the land. Do you see how the tic-tac-toe? Okay, so what business are we in? Are we in the magnet business? Are we in the mag-step business? Are we in the selling of the product business? Does that happen? Yes, that happens, because we need to provide a valuable service at the level of the public so that there's a value in exchange and that can fund the next level of the operation. Well, what's the next level of the operation? We help people become self-employed, become entrepreneurs, to help them make money and start to build an entrepreneurial.
Step number 3.
Okay, but the third tier of this thing is I'm building a global organization that creates wellness and wellness lifestyles around the globe. That's the vision of my company.
Okay, so whenever you filled out your membership form and you did the vision and the good vibrations and you got the mentor, which I'm guessing back then was probably your upline, did you go to one people or did you go to all of them? You had Dave, you had Reed.
I had a few, but Reed was perhaps maybe the most prominent one in my.
Okay, you went out the door to, by your own admission, build this global franchise model or this global entrepreneurship. Where'd you start?
Okay, again, the paradigm. So Robert Kiyosaki talks about the S quadrant. If you think of cash flow quadrants, the S quadrant, the E quadrant, employee, 75% of the population. The S quadrant, small business owner, self-employed, entrepreneur, maybe a professional. That's 20%. And then the B quadrant. This is that networking model. So there's the retail model, the franchise model, and the networking model. The networking model, the B quadrant, is what we're after. We want to shift from this trading time for money paradigm that's operating in the E quadrant and the S quadrant over to the B quadrant. That's a different way of thinking. So wait
a second.
So I'm not looking for customers.
But you just don't snap your fingers and change that thing.
No. You're going to obviously work with your mentor and you're going to develop your vision, as we've just been talking about. And there's other resources that we can recommend that over time you're going to get a better understanding of how to go about this. But let's just stick to this paradigm for a second. Okay. The E quadrant is where I'm going to be selling product. Yes, that happens, but I'm not going out the door to be an employee of my own company. S quadrant is where I find other people to work for me. You know, that's what small business owners have. They have employees, but typically those employees are E quadrant thinking people. They're dependents. So an E quadrant person is dependent on being employed. An S quadrant person sets up their own business to employ themselves, but they surround themselves with E quadrant people, dependents. So it's like it's a babysitting service for adults. That's the S quadrant.
Hamster wheel.
We don't want that. I don't want to go and talk to a doctor so he can sell the products to his employees. That's me thinking franchise model. Hey, let me go sponsor this doctor because then he can sell it to his employees. I'm thinking the doctor's going to retail. I'm going to sponsor the doctor. That's a franchise. The franchise is going to sell the product. That's the S quadrant. We're still not there. The B quadrant, this is where we want to be. Henry Ford, he didn't know how to make a car, but he had a vision to have cars throughout America as the means of transportation before there were even roads or gas stations to provide the service to refuel those cars or provide the means to actually move those cars.
That's a big vision.
Huge vision. But what did he do? He surrounded himself with people who were able to turn the vision into reality, people who had skills that he didn't have, abilities that he didn't have, management, and so forth. He built a company by attracting people who were assets, who were valuable assets that could contribute to the realization of that company's vision. That's B quadrant.
He sold the vision.
So what I did, William, was I realized that this was so big, and I wanted to be the guy who helped put Nikken on the map in Canada. I lived in my father's house, in a bedroom in my father's house. I started my Nikken business at a desk.
The Good Vibrations World Headquarters?
In the world headquarters of Good Vibrations, a small room that had one single bed and a desk in it and stuff everywhere because I had no room for anything else. And that's where I built my empire. It started there. Now
your father must have been so proud.
But I had the vision. And so how was me? how was I going to put this company on the map in Canada? Well, I figured it out. I needed help. See, the E quadrant person or the S quadrant person's out there thinking, oh, I need to help somebody. I need to help them their knee, and I need to help I have to go help my aunt. And great, you'll get all that done. But if you really want to help a lot of people, build a Royal Diamond business. You'll be helping millions of people around the globe. So how do I do that? How do I build a Royal Diamond business? Well, obviously a Royal Diamond business is comprised of diamonds and platinums and golds, leaders. So I need to attract leaders who will attract leaders. That's a different set of circumstances than going out looking for customers to find customers. It's not the same problem. At the end of the day, we're going to have millions of customers if we do the first thing right, which is, let me find some leaders who can find some leaders. And in the process of doing that, you sell a knee wrap and an elbow wrap and a necklace. And
so how do you define step 3 then? What are you calling this?
I would say what we want to do now is attract to our company a team of people
like-minded,
that are like-minded, who share a common vision, who can share in this vision of making the world a better place through this as a vehicle.
So from the bedroom in your father's home, did you attract 1,000 leaders or a couple?
No, it started with one. Wow.
I had a list. Whoa. One.
Yeah. It always starts with one.
Wow.
And so I had a list. I had 154 names of people that I knew that I wrote down on a piece of paper, a couple of pieces of paper. And then I went through that list. I tried to identify in my mind, mentally and emotionally, who did I feel, if they could see this, if they could appreciate this, would be able to put this thing on the map, had what it takes to really give this thing a leg up. So I was.
What'd you say to them?
Well, the first name that came up, the name that the first call I made, William, is what most people would not do. It's counterintuitive to what I think the average person does.
You leveraged up.
You bet. They come into this business and they say, the first thing they want to do is feel good about the decision they made. So they try and convince their family and their friends and people that they have influence over, that they may. And so, of course, these people who don't really have two, cells to put together and call that a brain, they'll be the first people that attack the idea and put you down. Has nothing to do with the idea. It just has to do with your relationship with them or their own image of themselves. And they don't want you to get too far ahead of them because that's going to make them uncomfortable.
Are you trying to tell me your first call was somebody better and smarter and better than you?
This is a person who had the most money of the people that I knew, had the most influence of all the people that I knew. And I, in my opinion, at the same time, was a very caring and charismatic person. So pretty much knew the world, right? So if this person could say, I love the idea, just that alone to me would have been something, because I could then leverage that. Hey, did you know that this person thinks it's a good idea? So then it wouldn't be about my idea or whether I think it's a good idea. It would be sort of a public acknowledgement that it's a good idea from someone.
How did you get the courage to sit down with somebody knowing that your headquarters was in your father's bedroom and tell this person that I've got a vision greater than the bedroom?
Because I didn't limit my perception of what was happening by my current reality. I wasn't living Mike DiMuccio, the guy in the bedroom. I was living the guy who was putting Nikken on the map in Canada. I shifted from being a person who lived in one reality to a person who was living in an alternate reality. And that was as real to me as the bedroom was. I wasn't offended by my reality, the current perception of reality. I was being driven by what I saw as possible for myself, for others, for the company, for the vision that I was creating.
So you didn't walk out the door and do a mag step strength test to this individual?
Well, that happened, but that's not why I went.
Ah.
See, the words that came out of my mouth, the way I presented the information, they were all influenced by what I was thinking and feeling. And what I was thinking and feeling was, this was important, that Nikken need to be heard and need to be known. The technology was revolutionary. People needed to know about this. And I gathered all of that in the short time that I was introduced to Nikken and exposed to it. It all came rushing into me like, I've always been that guy who was driven by cause. I'm the guy who's always raising a flag to the underdog. So when I saw Nikken, I saw this as truly a cause. I had my own experience with the products. My dad has experience. We went through the process. I was satisfied that it was legit. What I saw was the opportunity to make a difference, to influence the world in a significant way. And of course, if I was successful at that, I would live the life of my dreams. So my focus was to create something of meaning that would bring back something of great value to me. A lot of people run out the door thinking about what they're going to get. I'm going to get this. If I sponsor this person, I'm going to get what I'm going to get, what I'm going to get, what I'm going to get. Well, I'll tell you, you come out with that energy and people are going to be just going like this. Stay the hell away from me.
There's that vibration talk again.
Yeah.
So sidebar here, because I think this is a very important question, Mike, and that is that, you know, I find it hard to believe, first of all, that you had enough courage to do that, because most people walk out that door knowing that they've got a mentor and somebody rallying behind them saying, I'm there for you, call me if you need a 3-way phone call. But you just took this thing called blind faith that, and what I'm trying to get at here is that I think this is what really separates this longevity journey of Nikken comparatively to the soaps and the shampoos and the crystals and the oils and the candles and all these plethora of products that are out there to serve society. You really saw that we're changing people, not just physically, but this whole idea of the balance. You were taking something so much greater out the door with you than just Mike selling a set of insoles.
Or Mike getting a paycheck to make a car payment. Or it wasn't about Mike. That's the difference. It was about what was possible and what was, I believed, important. I believed it was important for the world to know that Nikken existed. And it was a cause for me to help make that happen. Of course, I would benefit to the degree that I was successful in my cause. But that's the question. What is my cause? My cause was to create a company that would put Nikken on the map.
Do you mind me asking who thought of you to attract you as this visionary at such a young age in your dad's bedroom? Who that's an
by the name of Ron. I'll just say Ron M., who is still, in fact, I believe, supportive of the network marketing industry, but actually quit after about a year. And because he wasn't driven by that. That wasn't his game. His game was, I'm not even sure what his game is to this day, years and years later, but he was a guy who was looking into this. I was his guinea pig. I was his guinea pig to see whether or not there was any legitimacy to this, because he knew that I had an aerospace engineering background. He knew I had a back problem. And he just thought, you know, well, let me just try this stuff on Mike and see what happens. And lo and behold, I lit up like a match.
It's amazing to me how two people at the exact same time can see two different things from the same opportunity.
Exactly. Which is the premise of this call. This meeting right now that we're having is the idea of recontextualizing. Context gives meaning. Context gives meaning. If I said to you, William, we're going to learn how to clean a shotgun, and okay, so here's how we do it, you'd probably be bored silly. If I was holding a class on that, there'd be 10 different conversations going on. But if I started the class by saying, we just have it on good word by our intelligence agencies that we're going to be invaded in the next 24 hours and our first line of defense is a shotgun, you're going to learn how to clean it right here, right now.
You got my attention.
Yeah, everybody's going to be on their, on the edge of their seat learning how to do everything, because context creates meaning. It's the same exercise, but we have a different context. So the idea of what are you doing in Nikken? What are you creating here? Is
so give me the context right now.
Well, I wanted to put Nikken on the map. And if I was successful at doing that, there would be a big win for everybody.
Why was this so important to you?
Because of what happened to me when I saw what happened to me with the product. I was spent a year and a half going through physiotherapy, massage therapy, specialists, chiropractors, and so forth. Nothing helped my back.
But Mike, the common sense thing that I'm hearing, then it would be natural for you to walk out the door and sell product.
But that's not what my vision was, because this is the counterintuitive part that we're trying to help people who are watching this. Your natural instinct is to go out and do what you got excited about. Bruce Black is the first person I reached out to. He was the most influential person I knew. And how I did it, what gave me the confidence and the courage, is I simply said, I need your help.
Now let's go there for a second, because you went to a guy that's in that other quadrant: Black's cameras, employees, franchise model. I mean, millions of dollars to expand his, and you're trying to take him in this other quadrant. How did you even get an appointment?
Well, we knew each other, and he had retired. He had sold the company. Now, what I didn't know about Bruce is that there was a part of Bruce that was really missing the experience of being the boss, of having all these employees, some 13 or some 100 employees that he was working with. He liked being that guy. So he lost his identity as that guy.
Wow.
I didn't know that, by the way. And I didn't know he had a problem with his knee either. Now, what's interesting is if you hear Bruce Black tell the story, he'll tell the story. He said, Mike knew he had a problem with my knee, and he came over and helped me fix my knee. I did not know he had a problem with his knee. What I learned by hearing him tell the story was that he started becoming interested when he heard something of interest. What I was saying was, blah, 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 blah. My knee, my back, helped my father. Oh, really? You think it can help my knee? All of a sudden now he starts recording the information in his subconscious mind. So I learned a bunch of stuff in that first appointment. But what gave me the confidence to do it was what I was compelled to do. I felt compelled to get this story out there, to get the Nikken story out on the map and make it a big deal, because I wanted the win too. I wanted all the things that went with that, the success.
Mike, fast forward for the listener here. That one out the door, okay, step one, mentor. Step two, good vibrations, vision from the bedroom. Step three was, I'm going to go attract people for this quadrant: leadership, franchise model. Bruce Black first. Fast forward 20 years later, what has that morphed into?
Millions and millions of people have been helped with the product. Hundreds of thousands of people have enrolled in Nikken as a business on some level or another around the globe in about 30 countries. Thousands of people have made.
I mean, that gives me goosebumps. Like this kid in his dad's bedroom, going out the door to the one individual, and you're now telling me that the impact is global, and
over $500 million in volume that's been generated, well over that.
What's the outcome of longevity in that? How many people have increased their lifespan from that?
The quality of life, and how many people have had a return to life? So many people were looking at, the end of the line. I know stories of people who were literally told, get your life in order, because there was only a matter of months.
Mike, we started this idea on promoting a company, a supplier. We took it to getting a mentor, to getting a vision, starting a company name, to walking out the door to one person. And you're talking about literally changing the world.
Yeah. The effect of this is so profound, because it's not just a physical impact. It's a shift in thoughts, a shift in consciousness. My children are the product of having been born and raised in a Nikken wellness home. The way we think, the way we act, the way we talk, the things we entertain, the conversations they've been exposed to, the people they've been exposed to, the impact that has had on them has forevermore changed the trajectory of their life, or what it would have been.
Do you have any doubt that they won't live to 110, 115 healthy? Yeah.
Not only that, but I have no doubt that they will be game changers in the world. They will be people who will be upstanding and will be not threatened by having an opinion. They won't feel threatened by making a difference and standing out and maybe not being popular. They have self-confidence. They have this understanding of themselves. And where did that come from? It's just by being in that environment.
Nor will they be ingrained in this trading time for dollars industrial age that we've come.
I encourage them to do all the things that are good, to go through that learning curve. Yeah. Hit the wall a few times, because that's going to help them really appreciate and value what it is that they have coming.
So here's what I'm struggling with. How do we even go to a step 4? Because you just blew me away with 1, 2, and 3. I mean, I'm sure you talked to a second person.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let me just get back to this Bruce Black idea. The idea that I was able to ask somebody for help. I didn't go in there promising this guy the world. I didn't go in there saying, I'm going to rock your life. I'm going to change your world. I've got the gift of everything. I mean, I was a nobody walking into that office, and that guy was the epitome of success in my mind.
Actually, you need to take that back. You were the CEO of a bedroom.
Okay.
In Toronto.
Of an international corporation that was pretty weak in the mouth. Well, I tell you, I may have been that in my mind, but when you're actually out there and you're walking into somebody's office, by the way, this big black leather thing, he had his glasses sitting on the edge of his nose, and he was sitting on the end of his chair like this behind the desk, and his attitude, his energy was, go ahead, kid, impress me. So, I mean, that was the situation.
How old were you, just out of curiosity?
27, I think I was. Yeah,
wow.
27. So, well, how do you impress a guy like that? You don't try. You don't try. You just simply come from your heart. And what I did was I told him my story. I told him what happened to me. I told him what happened to my dad. I told him what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And that's when he leaned forward and he said, do you think this can help me? And then we did a demonstration. That worked. He was dancing around his office saying, I can't believe this. And then here's what happened. He started asking me a whole whack of questions. Well, how do you know somebody's interested? They're asking you questions. And there were questions he wouldn't even give me the chance to finish answering. And half the time I didn't even have an answer. So I said, time out. I know somebody who can answer your questions. And I immediately picked up my phone and I immediately called Reed Nelson, who was my upline diamond. And I said, Reed, I have somebody here who's a businessman, an entrepreneur, very successful in Canada, very prominent figure. You have a business background. Could you share your story, tell him a little bit about what, and answer his questions? And that was it. I passed the phone and that was it. That was a very important move.
I don't think the phone was that size back then.
It wasn't that. No, I think I had to use two hands. But what was so relevant about that was it took the pressure off of me so I could still be me, not be the guy who has to know everything and understand everything, just the guy who has the vision and the idea and the belief that there's something here that's worth knowing about, worth talking about, worth sharing with people. And then he had that conversation with Reed, and the rest is kind of history.
Okay, so again, attempting to get to step 4, I mean, it's really who's the second person is step 4. But I just want you to close this conversation with that 27-year-old CEO of the bedroom of Good Vibrations. You have morphed into something completely different in this journey. And it wasn't like that. No. It started maybe with the greatest networker in the world, John Fogg book. It maybe have went to the Kiyosaki's. It went to Humans Be More. It went to a vision board. I mean, you have never stopped growing from that first day in the bedroom of visualizing good vibrations. How much of that, because I really think it is step 4, how much of that investment in Mike DiMuccio has led you to who you are today?
It's all part and parcel of the same thing. Humans being more is our motto, but it's what we're being. It's the modus operandi. It's the cause and it's the effect. It's the alpha and it's the omega. The idea that we are forever growing and being open to grow. What would be the point of being on this planet and not growing? I mean, just, doing this. That would be the most boring life. You could have everything. And how many people have had everything and then they just, suicide or something crazy because their life.
Let's talk about that, because I think this is a part of step 4 is the setbacks. I always call setbacks setups, like a slingshot, you go back, but the setback launches you as a setup into the future. So did you have some?
God, yeah.
You did. So it wasn't all Bruce Blacks for 20 years.
No, absolutely not.
There's people out there listening. There's people listening to this, Mike, that have gone through divorces and bankruptcies and downsizings and like you said, loss of life of family members and real heartaches. And I know some people that I'm coaching right now that are really struggling. You had those yourself.
Absolutely. Right. That's all part of the equation, I think, of being a human being and growing, because you've got to grow through the ego. The ego has got, my ego is not even my own. It's the sum total of all the consciousness that's been dumped on me from generations and eons before me. all the belief systems that are operating in this world that are false beliefs or misleading beliefs and leading people to a life of stress and misery and unhealth and so forth. These are all things that are real, and we have to overcome the inertia of that. The relationship part, how we actually engage with other people. I think the hardest part for me in this business, quite literally, was dealing with the disappointments of other people. Not even myself, because I can deal with me. But it's hard when you see others who you feel you've either given so much to or who have so much potential and then just drop like flies and you don't know what to do, how to help. That's the hardest part. It's a very difficult thing to be humble enough to allow them to hit the wall. Man, that is a hard thing to watch.
I hear you.
Sometimes you have to let it happen.
Okay, so maybe we can come back for the next journey of this, which is talking about that. Like there is this, we just kind of helped somebody walk through filling out the membership form and getting ready to head out the door to talk to their first Bruce Black. But what about having a call next about, I've got 5 people, I've got 7 people, I've got 22 people, and what do I do, continue to do as I'm growing? What do I do? And I don't like to use the word manager because we're all entrepreneurs, but maybe motivation, maybe mentoring, maybe instruction, support, that role and responsibility thing where you're responsible to your organization versus for their success.
By the way, just as a footnote to that, my golden rule is my role as a sponsor is to give somebody the best start I know how today. That's my role. It's going to get better with time as I get better with time, and I'll be able to give somebody a better start. But that's my role as a sponsor. I'm committed to helping somebody get the best start I know how to give them.
Brilliant. So we can come back and talk about that then, about how many Bruce Blacks do you have around the world right now?
Honestly, I don't know because you lose count and you lose track, but and there's not that many. I mean, Bruce Black is a really unique person, very, very unique individual.
But he's a leader.
Caring, and he's most certainly an inspiring man. He's inspired people and continues to do so. 23 years later, he is still a man who's out there sharing the story and sharing his time with people. In fact, I was talking to him the other night and he said, "Mike, you got any meetings coming up at your house? I'd be glad to show up." Wow.
Yeah. So I think it's important that I talk about your time today, my time today, what we actually do, because I don't really think it's much different than what we did, 21 years ago, whenever we got started. We're still serving others. We are making a difference. We're helping people create more balance in their life. We're sharing our vision. We're mentoring. We're supporting them. But it really hasn't changed that much, has it?
No, I think the most important thing that is being spoken about today is what it is that we do. And you just said it, sharing our vision. The products is part of it. The opportunity is part of it. But what drives why Nikken is in existence 40 years later is not because of a product. The products have come and gone. They've changed. It's not because of the compensation plan. That's changed in countries and modified, and it's not that either. So it's not the product. It's not the opportunity per se. Then what is it? What is it that is going to be around 100 years from today that's still true and still tells the story of Nikken? It's the idea of humans being more, and that expression comes through balance in the 5 pillars. That is going to be true for a human being 100 years from now as it was 100 years ago. And so this is the story. This is what I'm compelled to talk to people about. That's why we did the call that we did earlier, because it's not about the product or the money. It's about the life and the lifestyle that we can create when we get our ideas straightened out.
And who better than Nikken to tell that type of a story? That's what I think separates us and makes us so unique out there in this world that we're living in today is great products, longevity, great stable company, 40-year history, philosophy, but the bottom line is the humans being more.
Yeah, it's the people.
Yeah.
We're in the people business. Products is how we fund our lifestyle.
Yeah, let's start talking about our real estate, not the hamburgers we serve. Mike DiMuccio, Toronto, Canada. This is William Todd from Bend, Oregon. Thank you so much. I look forward to our next talk together.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.